Hey, welcome to the Wealth Rules podcast. I started a little late today. We had some tech issues that I had to figure out. And I hope everybody can see this day. We didn't go live Wednesday. We have a bit of an emergency that happened. And I'm in the area of Colorado where all the fires are happening. And so I'm kind of on standby. And hey, Jess, nice to see you. And I think it's Bernard. I'm not sure. I probably slaughtered that. My bad. I'm sorry. But I'm in the area where the fires are, and they're really relatively close to my house. And I wanted to go live today, but I wanted to make sure also that we had our go bags done and everything else so that if we had to get out, then, we could go out pretty quickly. So we've been kind of sizzling around the fires. And I just got on today because one, I wanted to tell you, we had an emergency yesterday. We didn't go live. And then the fires kind of really close to us. And I got to tell you, I write about building wealth and doing everything else. And I really sat with, what if I lost everything? What would I do if I lost everything? Like the fire comes, and yes, I have property insurance and everything else like that. But I bet that probably takes a bit of time for that to go through. Like what happens and how long would it take? And then I started thinking about, the California fires or North Carolina's floods, the year of those climate change actions. And I thought, some of the things I have in place are there to protect me in case something like this happens. Now, do I want to lose everything to a fire? No. I have this farm out in the backside that is growing. Everything is starting to grow. And I am surrounded by forest because I live in the wilderness. And if I lost everything, how would that affect me right now? Like, what would I do? Well, I'd have to go find another place to live. I'd have to figure out, how I was going to build a new garden. I'd have to figure out a few of the things, but mostly I'd be in grief because I love where I live. I can't take everything with me. There would be substantial loss. But here's what I want to say. I want to say some of the things. I have a lifeboat business or two set up, and I'll tell you what a lifeboat business is in a minute. But what would happen for me is I'd feel grief, not panic. And the panic would be, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I have no home. I don't have any income. I've lost everything, blah, blah, blah. And I know a lot of people have done that. But what happens when you have something there, like your whole life is your yacht? And it could be a 120-meter yacht or a 50-foot yacht or a 26-foot yacht or boat, whatever you want. You can have your life be as big or as small as you want. And if it has no lifeboat on it and something happens where it knocks a hole in your boat and your boat starts taking on water, if you don't have a lifeboat to jump into that will keep you and get you to shore, because that's what a lifeboat is supposed to do, then you will crumble and sink, and voila, that's panic in the water. So it's kind of like, the Titanic, it didn't have enough lifeboats on it. And because it didn't have enough lifeboats, a lot of people lost their life. And what I want to say to everybody is, you can build a lifeboat very easily. And I'm going to tell you how I do it. And this is what I've done to protect my life. One is, I do not I have invested in the market, and if you guys read any of my stuff or anything, you know that I have been a financial analyst. I've worked for Citi, I've worked for Janus Funds, I worked for Oppenheimer. There's quite a few things that I've done in the financial arena. I do not like the financial arena. Why? Because it's permission based. So if you put your money over here, you've locked it up and you've made it you've given access and permission to someone else. Someone else is in charge of your money. Someone else is holding out, and they will charge you dues and penalties and taxes and everything else. So if you invest in $100,000 and a big emergency really happened and you needed access to that money, you might have 60, 70,000 of it. The rest will be penalties and dues and everything else. And that didn't make sense to me. Now, I think ownership is everything because ownership gives you sovereignty. And that's what the wealthy do. If you've ever heard Grant Cardone or Robert Kiyosaki, they hate the market. They're like, don't invest in the market. Why would you do that? What they do is tell you to have the things that you have ownership. So I started thinking a little bit and I challenged myself to go out of the way. We are taught to save in 401ks, saves in IRAs, save in, CDs, save. That's the mantra for the masses. But what the wealthy do is they don't save. Their system is that they create cash flow veins. Now, cash flows and passive income are different than cash flow veins. Cash flow veins are the things that people will never do without. They're always going to spend money on. So a cash flow vein right now, like if you owned a gas station, that's a cash flow vein. If you have a coffee shop, people can say no to it, but they're never going to turn off their electricity. They're never going to say, honey, I'm really sick of electricity. I just am tired of it and I want to shut it off. Now, they could say that to the internet. You can turn it on or off in your house, but electricity, nah, it's a key thing. A cash flow vein, you don't need to advertise for. A cash flow vein, um, is something that is going to be used over and over again. It doesn't take any marketing really. So for me, if you have a baby, everything the baby needs is a cash flow vein business. They're going to need formula. They're going to need clothing. They're going to need the vein is always running. That's what makes it a cash flow vein. A cash flow can be a passive income. They consider what are they called? The MLMs, like they're the thing where it's you pay a downline. So, you have one product and that in that product, the question, the product has to pay 5, 3, 4 levels deep or something. So the product is really expensive. Well, people can say no to that, but cash flow veins, they can't say no to. So, cash flow veins are what Robert Kiyosaki and Grant Cardone, who's the 10X guy, that's what they focus on. They're like renters. If you have an apartment complex, let's say you just have a fourplex or a sixplex of apartments, and they're full of decent renters, then you just have the cash flow vein. Why? Because a cash flow vein is something somebody's always going to need. So if you start a business and you're thinking about the risk of a business, how much time it's going to get it off the ground and everything else, you'd want it to cash flow a little more effortlessly for you. And determining which one you pick, that has been the thing that has kept me afloat. And I just want to say hi to 3 Questions Deep. Nice to see you on. And so what happens with the cash flow is that you pick the vein, you build the vein, and it pays you. And what wealthy people do is pick about 7 of them. The first one makes them money enough, and then they go invest it again. And then it happens that you can make another cash flow after that. But what I did, because I didn't come from wealth, is I built digital wealth first, the digital cash flow vein. And if you know anything about me, that includes my Amazon accounts where I've written 48 books, and I talk about this topic of wealth building and ownership and sovereignty through 48 different books there. And on The Independent Woman, that's what I talk about as well. And why do I think that's so important? And why do you think, why should you listen to me at all? Well, to me, the reason I think that is so important now, everybody has AI. So I'm telling you stuff that you can go to AI and just type in and learn. But here's what I want you to know: while the world looks chaotic, underneath there is the greatest wealth transfer that is happening. And it's about $124 trillion. And all of that 124 trillion is going mostly to women. And I mean, women around the world, and American women are going to inherit that. And it goes through books, it goes through businesses, it goes through inheritance. It's all coming. Now, if I know that money is coming, do you think Fidelity knows that money is coming? Or Citi or Vanguard? Do you think all these companies know that women are going to inherit all this wealth coming to them in the form of businesses and houses and inheritances? And it's world changing money. Everyone knows that this money is coming to women. And what portion you get, I don't know. But what I do know is that there has been a focused conversation, a focused, I want to say attack, but a focused attack on women to get their money from ownership to a permission based marketplace. There's 71% of the women are in the market, 71%. So why aren't 71% of the men in the marketplace right now? What is happening with men that they're saying no to the market, but women are like, look at me. I have 71% of the women in this country have their money in the market. Well, it's because these companies that we just talked to have been targeting women with ads. It is all pretty much market based ads. What they don't teach women is how to have ownership and stewardship over their money, which is what the wealthy do. We have ownership and stewardship over our money. So when we look at the cash flow veins, I built digital cash flows first. That's the first thing I did. And then after that, I had brick and mortar businesses. I don't really like brick and mortar businesses right now. But what has happened for me is I want two things: I want freedom and mobility. Freedom and mobility. Now, under my freedom tab, I have sovereignty, the ability to move, et cetera, et cetera. And once I found out that the two most important things for me is freedom and mobility, then I knew that having an online business, now I don't want to be a digital nomad, but I do want to go have fun. And I want to be able to take my work with me when I want to go have fun. So in 2024, my spouse and I, we rode our bicycles from Washington State all the way to Washington, D.C. And we did that because we had digital wealth coming in. We didn't have stationary wealth. And stationary wealth kind of frightens me a little bit. If you think about the California fires, even last year, it might have been 2023, 2024, where the whole state was ablaze. If you have everything in your one town, in your one community, so your gas station, your hospital, your bank, your house, can you see how your entire life is ashes? Can you see how that would happen? It's a possibility right now. And as I look at the fire is 16 miles from where I live right now as the crow flies. And so what I'm looking at is, okay, if you had to start all over, as long as I have these, and yes, this would be a loss, but it'd mostly be a loss to my heart, not to, it wouldn't kick my butt. And I wouldn't be like, hi, I'm sleeping in my car. There are things that I have in place that keep my life secure and under my control, not somebody else where I have to go, man, this caught fire and I need emergency access. And they'll say, well, you can have emergency access, but only to this amount of money. Well, if you lose everything, a small amount of money is thank you, but it's not going to help you in any way. So what I did was I didn't think about this when I started, but as I had brick and mortar businesses, thank you for the love, by the way. Um, the brick and mortar businesses that I've had have been fun. I've had ice cream stores. I've had retail shops. I've done consulting businesses. Hey, PBJ, nice to see you on. Thanks. But I've had all these other businesses over here, and I've made digital downloads here so that I'm not dependent on one income. When you graduate college and you get a job, your entire life is dependent on one income. I have a job. Well, no wonder why you're struggling. Everything about you then is permission based. Your job tells you when you can be there, how much you're going to get paid, which determines where you live, where you're going to put your kids in school, what car you're going to drive, how you want to live. All of that is determined by someone else or something else. And I didn't want that for myself. I wanted freedom and mobility. Want to be anywhere in the world. I want to still be able to create income. So over here, when you get permission based, then you get the job, part of the benefits, 401k, and maybe they're matching, maybe they're not. But then you start thinking, well, I need an IRA. I need to think about my retirement. And then all of a sudden you have debt right out of college. And this spin is made to make you feel stuck. It's made to make you feel trapped. And of course you feel that way. Who wouldn't feel that way? I know that when somebody tells me when I'm going to eat lunch and how much time I have to go pee, that's that's bothersome to me. I don't want that. And so what happens is making the switch is building a bridge. And what happens here, this is the thing that they sell you. They sell you set it and forget it. Don't worry about it. Just put your money in the IRA and forget about it until 30 years later when you need it. 30 years. 30 years you have to live your life where there are no emergencies, no illnesses, no demands at all. 30 years before you can tap that money. You have to forget about that. I don't think that's smart. Life happens all the time, and unexpected happens all the time. And change is the constant. So if change is the constant, then having cash flows. So right now I only have 4 cash flows. I've had up to 7, but I was like, man, that's a lot to manage. And I know that there are people who manage portfolios of these cash flow veins. They are completely and utterly taken into these portfolios where they're making, 100, 250 million, 300 million. You don't need that. You don't need to chase that. Like, let's just start with a lifeboat. A lifeboat is a small business. A lifeboat business, small business. It's not your dream business. It's not where you put, 20, 30,000, 50,000, $100,000 on coaches who are going to talk to you in a group setting, but not really pay attention to you. You want a business that is inflatable. It's inexpensive and it rolls out money quickly. Like, hi, it's 30 days later and I have a little money coming in. Let's just match the thing. The first thing I did was grab a business that could match my income right away. The first business that I did online a long time ago, I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm sorry, I'm going to give you the nerdy version of myself. I love to collect coins, and mm, I've done it since I was 19. I've gone to the Numismatic Association, got all the degrees, blah, blah, blah. I've been a coin dealer for years. And so love to play with coins. So eBay, when it first came out in 2000s, early 2000s, I did an eBay store and I could make $8 to $10,000 on a weekend. I put the auction up on Thursday, and by the end of the weekend, the fight and the bid has been there. And then on Monday, I shipped it. And that's it. That was similar. And then I did Amazon right away, had an Amazon store. And when I started, I'm guessing time, it might have been 2003 when I started all of this. It was easy to say, okay, these two things are bringing me about somewhere between eight and $13,000 a month. So I lived way below my means, way below my means. And what I did with that money is I took all that money and then I invested it in building a publishing company. And it was online. I've had it for, well, it has all of my 48 books. And I don't know what books are going to sell it during the month. I just launched this book, which hit number one in about 7 hours. And this is The Hidden Rules. It's what they left out when they taught you about wealth. I mean, the thing they left out, I'm talking about right now. The thing is, the reason I think this is so important is because in this space and time, things have begun to get so simple with AI helping you. So I teach people how to build their lifeboat business. My students have made their first monies really quick within 2 weeks. They're building assets. Your audience is your asset, your digital assets, everything else. They're literally building cash flow veins so that they have a backup plan. That's what they do. And these have been working for me for, I don't know, 20 years. But as I see the world become shaky, what do you want? Like, if you had the base of security in your house, would you want freedom and mobility? And freedom to me is enough of the cash flows coming in that I have options and choices that most people don't. So I want the options and choices. My options and choices don't come from credit cards. It's like, oh boy, this is, I'm not going in debt. I'm not in debt. I don't want to be. And the thing is, I'm a very much the Dave Ramsey picture, get rid of that debt. I'm really about that because we are so it's wow, debt is really a killer right now. So the thing was I realized that this trap was literally made. They want you to focus on your credit score. Your credit score. Really? That's the thing? What a bunch of crap. It is your credit score is a lie. It is an absolute manipulative tool. It's BS. I was going to use a cuss word, but BS. And I just want to say to you, if you think for a minute right now, I'm going to prove to you that this is BS and it means nothing. One, our president, Donald Trump, was $900 million in debt, almost $1 billion in debt. And they still gave him money. And I want you to think about that. And I want you to come over here and say in 2007, before the 2008 subprime mortgage debacle, they gave anybody, they didn't care. They had ninja loans. You could get a house if you could sign on the dotted line. That was it. They let anyone who wasn't qualified by credit score sign on the dotted line to get their house. That's why it was subprime mortgage debacle. So they didn't care about your credit score here. And what is it that they attach the loan to? Do they attach it to your credit score or the assets you have? You see, that's why Donald Trump could be $900 million in debt and they would still give him money because he had assets, the hotels that he owned, that the bank could usurp if he couldn't pay. So at that point, you look at it and you say, the illusion over here that you're creating wealth instead of creating stuckness and being entrapped or having to ask permission. So now what I think about is permission is a big buzzword right now, especially among women. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to do this in permission. You don't need permission. Well, the thing is, you're playing in the permission game. And you don't understand that if you don't do something different, you'll ask permission for the rest of your life. So I want to give you a true story that happened to us. We got the 529 plans for kids' college. So you're stuffing money into them. Every time the grandparents come over and they're like, here's $5, here's $20, here's $50, here's it. You're putting all that money and all that gifts into the kids' college fund because that's their money. That's what they're going to go to college for. Your parents are helping you. Everybody's uplifting the kids with the 529 plan. And so when it comes time for college, um, you'd think that it was easy to get the money now. We're ready. This one's going to college. Not easy to do. And I want to tell you that our daughter has been through college twice now and still has not been able to access her college funds. 5 times. We just did this again, and our daughter's in her 30s. We just did this again, filled out the paperwork 5 other times, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized they don't want to give us our money back. And over the times we've been trying to get the 529 out, there have been, oh, we lost the paperwork. Oh, there's the pandemic. Oh, there's this and that. So what happens was all the fees and the dues and everything else that was in that 529 plan just keeps siphoning money out of the account slowly because, it's part of the contract. But we didn't get the money. And I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. So right now, I want to address the thing that everybody's talking about. The market is high. It's breaking records. This woman doesn't know what she's talking about. It's absolutely skyrocketing. I'm making money. So if I'm making money, I'm happy. The entire S&P 500 right now is being held up by 7 tech companies. They called the Magnificent Seven, and I know you guys have seen that all over the news. But think about that. The S&P, that's 493 companies that are flat or losing money. So think about 493. So as the tech is going up, 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 all the economists, there's speculators out there, all of it, oh, it's going to crash soon. It's going to crash soon. That's not the point. The point isn't whether it goes up or crashes or you invest more in the bottom and write it up. It's access. When do you have access? How long does it take for you to access your mutual funds? Access is the thing. There's permission. And I want to let you know how deep it goes. I'm trying to help you see where you're a permission based living only. And the wealthy don't live permission based, only you do. And if you stop being permission based and you moved over to stewarding your wealth, I wonder if you'd feel freer, less stuck, have more options, have more choices. So let me tell you something. That little credit score that you have, let's say right now that you have a $400,000 home and you've had the home for 15 years. And let's say there's $200,000 worth of equity in your home. You have to go to a bank and say, I'd like to use some of my equity in my home. The equity in the home, is it your money? Yeah, it's your money. It's the difference between what you paid for the house and how much it's worth now. And let's say you only needed $50,000 of it. Let's say 60, and you wanted to pay off your debts and do things. So let's say you had a second mortgage you wanted on it. So you have to go get permission to access the equity in your house. And they can tell you no. It's your money in this house. And they can say, yeah, we're not qualified right now to do this. So people can tell you no. And maybe you're like, well, maybe I'll get a $20,000 HELOC. That's more debt. So if you look at how you have to ask permission for everything, no wonder why we feel stuck. There's nobody representing you. There's only people trying to make you compliant and dominate you in that area. That's how I see it. And once I moved from here, because I worked in this industry and I had all the licenses. I had the 26s and the 6s and the 7s and the everything else that you have over here. I looked at thousands, and I mean thousands of contracts, and all the contracts seemed to have little gotchas in them, little things that were in there. And so what happened was I was afraid at first to move from the savings to the stewarding and moving it into cash flows. It made me nervous. I'm the kind of person I like to have a backup, and that backup cash is absolutely the best. Debt is absolutely the worst, in my opinion. So, moving from the thinking of save, 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 save to building cash flow, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. And there's a process in there where there's ownership and LLCs and things you got to learn to steward your wealth. But over on this side, I have access whenever I want it. And the things that I built that cash flow, I don't even pay attention sometimes to how much is coming in. I just know that it's coming in, it lands in my account, and inside that account, I can pay myself. I live under my means. I'm not in debt, so I'm not stressed out. And it's a simple build. The first one you have, that lifeboat, is a 30-day thing. It's to make sure that you have, if it hits the fan, that you have at least $1,000 coming in per month, something. And what I usually do is tell my students, let's get it to the point where you are getting your needs met, not going on vacation, not buying red bottom shoes. Just let's get your monthly needs in. Is it 3,000? Is it 5,000? Do you have a big family? Is it 10,000? What is it per month? Let's do that first. And then I start building assets. So for me, an audience is an asset. Like today, you guys are being very kind and generous and giving me your time. That's important to me. But the message is here's how I bring in assets. The hardest asset first to build is the first one I build. And the first and hardest asset to build right now is an audience because people don't trust anyone anymore. I mean, do you? Do you trust your politician? Do you trust your banker? Do you trust your government? I mean, I don't. And I am imagining you probably think, yeah, trust is pretty low right now with me. You have to earn my trust. And by the way, you don't earn it on the first show. You earn it by repetition over time. And when I feel safe with you, then I'll do business with you. And so that now takes longer. People have been so screwed over by everyone. And I get that. I'm not immune to having been screwed over. So what happens when you start working is I'm like, here, the first asset you want to build is this. And here are the properties of building the second set of digital assets. And here's the third one. And what you want to get is early clients. So my people have early clients already. They're doing great with their money. I just started with a group and maybe they're into 8 months in. And I've done this so many times. Over my life, I built 18 businesses, but not everything was great. So really 13 businesses were successful. And of those 13 businesses, 7 of them are still giving me cash flows. I run 4. And now I feel like I just need to share with people. I just want to share with you. This is what I did. I know it's scary, but I stopped the saving portion and I invested over here. And I am looking at how I can buy things that protect me, like, I love commodities right now because I think they're a hot topic. Not very market driven over here. I don't like this. I think it's dangerous. And there are algorithms, and now there's AI, and it's all going to be running this. There's no actual market running this. And there are boatloads, trillions of dollars going into these places where they're building AI um, AI data centers. That's it. And the data centers, people are not very big on the data centers. They don't want them in the area, and they're raising prices in energy costs in areas. And I look at that and I think, yeah, that's not safe for me. I don't want to be there. I'm not telling you what to do. This isn't financial advice. What I want to share is what has been working for me. What have I put in place? I do not want to manage 250 million. I don't want to manage that. My dad, the way I learned this is my dad used to make his money illegally. And if you've read Cash Flow Mojo, you know my dad was a drug dealer, and he would sell drugs, make drugs, sell drugs. So grew marijuana back in the day when it was federally illegal, and he also made cocaine. And when he sold it back to the United States, he couldn't invest in the market. He couldn't say, I have this bundle of cash. Now I'm going to buy all this market stuff, because the government would have been, how did you buy this house? How did you get this when you have no job? So he had to go on the down low. So what he used to do is he would take his money, obviously launder it through Switzerland, bring it back to the US. And what he did was he buy the silent partner things. So he bought the silent partner piece as a credit union and a restaurant. He even invested in a horse that was an Olympic horse or something. But what I did was I watched what he was building over here that was off grid. And at first, I was really embarrassed. I was like, "Oh my god, my dad, I don't know what your experience has been, but if you're dating and you go out on a date and the family is trying to be nice and invite you over for dinner, and you're there having dinner with the family and they're like, what does your father do? And your father's in jail. You don't want to say anything to anybody about that. So I swung the other way. I was like, okay, I don't want to make money this way. So I did the big swing, and I got a degree in accounting and finance. And, I worked for Citigroup. I worked for this big group. I worked all these finance jobs and companies and things. And I remember being at Janus Funds when Donald Trump came in to borrow money from them. And that was like the first 15 seconds I met him coming out of an elevator. And I was like, okay, there he is. He's gone. Voila. So I had all these great experiences over here, but the people that I worked with didn't. And I saw them get robbed out of money. And after 2008, I was like, this ain't for me. If this can happen in the US of A, that people can get robbed out of their money, they get homes stolen from them, and they're sold hinky contracts because that's what people are making money on. I can't be involved in that. So now I was embarrassed at this and embarrassed at this. But suddenly I realized when I came back over to here that all of this is legal to do. You can do this legally. You don't have to do this. And I looked at the stability it brought my father. And I didn't like what he did, but I understood the how he did it. And true story, when my dad died, he died at 89. So he lived a really long time. And the thing that caught my eye very quickly was, how you're digging for pictures and things for the memorial. You're going to put them up. This is about your dad. And I was doing that. And my sister and I found a hidden binder. And inside of it, we opened it up, and it was my dad's military service binder. And in it, it had a medal for, I don't know, some sort of thing he did. But then my sister and I were blown away because he worked for the CIA. And I stopped. I was like, what? My dad used to say all the time, he was a spy in the military. And I was like, huh. Both my sister and I were stunned. He never said anything. He would never tell us what happened. But I realized my dad served both sides of the law. So I think he was trying to share with me as I was learning to do all of these things without telling me his secret. And I only learned his secret literally looking for that memorial thing. And I'm so thankful because what what we look at, what happens when you look at the world before the market happened, what exactly before the market happened, what exactly was wealth? Go back to that. In the 1800s, and even further in the back, it was the land barons, the land rights. The land made you wealthy. If you were a land baron, you were wealthy because you could turn that land into a process of creating wealth. So let me ask you, if you have AI right now, what are the billionaires buying right now? Farms. They're buying the farms that have been owned for 5 generations that are going bankrupt. Thousands and thousands of them are being bought up. So if we take a look at like BlackRock, who's after our houses in the neighborhood, every time you sell a neighborhood house, they want to buy it, and they're, trying to corner the market on, making you dependent, more dependent. And I realized that one of the best things you can own is land. And one of the best things you can have is water rights. And what they don't want you to know is that, but the billionaires are buying it. So again, what happens is stewarding your wealth is a start. And the first thing you want to start with is a lifeboat business. You want something that is going to help you get to shore if everything blows up. And we're teetering on everything blowing up, aren't we? Whether it's de-dollarization or whether it's the lack of fuel and oil or whether it's inflationary. I know this. People don't want the United States to be the preeminent leader in the world. They don't. Everyone else is trying to knock us off the pedestal. And Iran has a very, very strong ability to do that by withholding oil. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would want a project that is not oil or energy dependent going forward, because I think those businesses are going to be expensive. And I do think the opportunity online to create digital wealth, because everybody, if you say digital wealth online, everybody's like cryptocurrencies. Okay, cryptocurrency is the single form of, wealth. But I can tell you, writing 48 books over my career, over my lifetime, that has been digital wealth. It's just automated coming in. And those digital processes can be done now with AI in 30 days or less to get you a small income coming in. You don't want the dream big, what the dream business right now. You want a small, easy to run, doesn't cost you a lot of money to run every month. Your dream business is going to cost you a lot of money. I've had those big companies. They're like, "Hi, it's $10,000 to $100,000 a month to run those companies." It's not fun, it's costly, and it's super stressful. You want something that you control, that you can run, that produces some income from you, where you can just get your groove on and learn about business without being overwhelmed by all these big things like I have to go find another venture capitalist or something. Start small, get it under your belt, write one book and get it on Amazon. It's just the start. No matter where you are, start in that portion of putting that money up, and stop looking for 7 figures. Just right now, look for 4 figures. Let's go to 4 figures. And once you get to the 4 figure spot, then you can start going, okay, let's go well into the 4 figures. Now, if you get to the 4 figures within a reasonable time, you can go ahead and get a quantum leap. And I have built wealth in quantum leaps. So a part of what I used to do is I built businesses and I would flip them. Like I'd go in and go, I can improve this business and sell it to somebody who wants to buy this business, blah, blah, blah. So I build and flip it. Well, you can do that online. You can build your company online right here. Like I have the independent woman. And if somebody gave me the right amount of money, they'd be like, can I buy your business? The answer would be yes. Does somebody want to buy your Wealth Rules? Yes. I can also put my business up for sale, up online, up like at flippa.com. You go to Flippa, you put your online business. I've done a couple of businesses where I've built online properties. You go to Flippa and you can flip it for cash. People buy internet stuff all the time. But you have to know what you're doing, just like with numismatics. If you have coins, you have to know the difference between one that is real and one that is counterfeit, because people sell counterfeit coins all the time. And if you buy the counterfeit, you lose. If you buy the actual real coin, then you win. And it grows in price and value over time. It's the same with websites that you're like, okay, is this going to be relevant 5 years from now? You have to know what you're doing, which is why you want to start with a lifeboat business. It's one offer. That lifeboat business comes from one thing that you know that is relevant in the world that you could sell very simply online. And if you go to the independent woman, look around, you can see what I mean by that. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be somewhere between $7 and $97, but it's the thing that helps people get to know you. So all my books on Amazon, there is a boatload of them that are just, you know, $7 or $1 for the ebook. I want people to know me. I want people to trust me. So in order to do that, I need to share as much as I can, which is what I hope to be doing when I do a podcast. But the thing is, it's just one offer. It's not like this. First, you have them, and here's the funnel, and don't confuse yourself. First, make your first $7, because believe it or not, the first dollar that you make online is going to make you feel you're going to feel confident. You're going to be like, I could do it. I sold one. Yay. Now, and not one to your mother and or your sister or your cousin. It's one to somebody that you don't know. Remember, I don't know if you've done this or not, but um, when I got my first paid subscriber on Substack, I was like, yes, because the first one is proof. It's proof of concept, and you just keep going and being consistent at it as you're going. The reason I'm telling you this is because the biggest disruption I think is going to happen is in income. I think access to your income is going to be controlled by someone else. So, for example, you have a bank account. You think you own the bank account, but you don't. You have access to an account at a bank. They can close it down or stop it without your permission. If you want to go get your money from the bank and they don't want to give it to you, you don't get it because they have control of your money. And that's the point. All of this system here was made so that they control your wealth, not you control your wealth. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. If income is going to be disrupted, what are they going to do? And if the market suddenly crashes in a couple of weeks, like everybody's like, the market is going to crash somewhere within 2 weeks. I don't know if that's true or not. But if it crashes and they don't want to give you access to your account, what are you going to do? The thing is, and those people who sell whole life insurance as the be all, rich people don't use wealth like that with your little whole life insurance policy where they're saving money in there so that they can borrow it. That doesn't make sense to borrow your own money and then pay interest to someone else to borrow your own money, or to have dues and fees and taxes to borrow your own money. The amount of taxes we pay over here, we are so taxed. I don't even know what we're going to do. But I do know that access is the key thing coming when this income collapses. So, how are you going to provide yourself with access to cash flows? So, in the K shaped economy that we're going through right now, I think most of the people who are struggling are using this system: debt, permission, and fees, dues, taxes, and penalties. And then over here, people are stewarding their own wealth. They're making cash flows that go directly from there to their bank. There's nobody between them, the access to their money. I sell, I get paid. I sell, I get paid. And I don't have to go out and pitch. Sell, 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 sell. That's not what happens. So I'd like to be able to invite you to think in a way, what if there's something different other than what I learned? Because I know women, we like security. We don't like to make mistakes. We're kind of Warren Buffett in that way, where it's like rule number one, don't lose money. And rule number two, see rule number one. And so I know women are like, I'm getting this inheritance and I want to make sure it's safe. And I want to make sure I don't lose it. And I want to make sure it's there for my family as its legacy. I want to be able to grow that money. And I realize that everyone knows this wave of money is coming. That's why 71% of the women over here are in the market. I am very contrarian to the market. I'm not sure it's safe. And I have seen so many people lose their money that I just want to be the thought that there's something different other than what we've been taught. And what would that be? And how would we get that? So here's the thing: if you only need $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year, that's pretty easy to do online. If you have a $500,000 a year, you might need maybe 4 cash flows coming in. You might need 3. I don't know what your skill sets are, or I provide for you, or whatever else. Uh, but I want to be able to share with you that if you think you have options, that's great. I want you to ask them, what do I own? Not what you have access to. Well, I have access to this and this and this and this. Who's funding this? You are. What do you own? If it's a claim, that's not ownership. And you're probably going to get hammered when some economic wave or black swan event. Right now, we're in a really huge black swan event that is probably the biggest world changer ever. And that's that Iran is holding all of our energy to the point where the levels are shrinking. There are countries that are so out of energy that they're rationing it. And we're probably the last domino to fall, but we're going to be the hardest domino that falls. And if that's true, that energy is happening. I've heard stories that we actually have about 2 weeks worth of oil before we run out in the country because our reserves are being sold other places. So I don't know about that. I don't know what's going to happen, but if we ran out of energy, what would that be like? I've heard on I don't know if you guys watch DOAC, which is Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett, but one of my favorite shows, and he had a risk expert on, and he said if we go back and we lose oil, we'd go back to 1940. And I was like, 1940? Holy smoke. And I was thinking, okay, what happened in 1940? Well, landowners were there. That was the richest people. But shipping was done by train. So I was like, okay, California train, that makes sense. It was done by steam trains from one side of the country to the other. And so what I want to share with you is I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the possibility is. But Iran knows that it's holding the cards by saying, no, the oil isn't here. I don't know what the next step is. I do know I want as many people to be prepared as possible. And what I want to share with you is I think that you need freedom and mobility. But the other thing you need is access. If they shut your access off, if they shut your access off because things are tumultuous, what would it affect? Would you be able to make your payment? I mean, if we look at the pandemic, look how much access was shut off. And it wasn't us who wanted to shut off the access. It's the owning class that shut off the access. The owning class, not the government class, not the billionaire class. It was the owners who got to shut off whatever was going to be shut off. And so that's why I think right now, if you do anything, you ask them, what do I own? And if it's well, you own stocks. Stocks are a claim that may not. It's like when people lose money in the markets, it's always the stockholders. They're the last people to get paid. They're like, "Ooh, sorry, we lost your money. Ooh, sorry. Ooh, that hurt." And right now we're swinging up like, "Oh my God, we think the market can't go anywhere but up, 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 endlessly up," because that's what we are taught. It goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Well, because the market is fine doesn't mean your situation is fine. You have to ask what you own, what you have access to right now, how much debt you're carrying. The most important thing I think you can do right now is get rid of that. Even if it's like get a second to get rid of your debt, get rid of the debt. And whatever it is that you're doing, just invite yourself to have a different option to access money that isn't market based money. What if it is stewardship, ownership, cash flow vein money? What if you had both? I think this is going to be the stronger place to be. And so to me, access and ownership is different. And I want to be really clear about it. For all of you people who are living in an HOA, you have to ask permission to put flowers in places you don't want to push, or if you wanted to widen your driveway, or whatever you wanted to do, you're asking permission from someone else. Like you can't plant food in your backyard. You can't change your backyard to be a food forest so that you just were having food there. You can't do that. When you have to ask permission so that you can do something with your property, although every house looks really nice, blah, 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 it's you being living permission based. It's permission based living. And there is no rights. You're a homeowner, not a landowner. You don't own the land up there. You don't have any rights. If you couldn't put a water well, like, oh, I want to put a well on my land, and you decided to put a well on your land, they'd be like, no, you can't do that. Sorry. And maybe we like permission based living. But as long as you have permission based living, you're going to have this sense of feeling stuck with no options because it's true. It's they're controlling the options, not you controlling your options. And that's the first way they keep you stuck. The feeling of stuck, or if you are stuck, you're like, I don't know what to do. I have so much debt. I have this and that. Girlfriend, they did that to you on purpose. It's not your freaking fault. It's not. It's the same thing as the 2008 collapse. They get you to believe that it's your fault, not their setup. So I just want to take the opportunity right now. Just take a moment and pull that stress off you. You're not the one who created this. You're the one who participated in the system. And if you continue to be in this system, and this is the system, if you continue to be in that, then you're going to have some stress and stuckness, and you're living by somebody else giving you permission to access your money, to access your life, to access your choices. You can be turned down to say no. So that for me had to stop. And in order to do that, you have to create cash flows right? Just cash flows. That's the whole purpose of doing it. It's the only way you build the bridge from living this way to this way. And the way you do that is you get you a lifeboat business that gets you across from this side of the shore to this side of the shore. And you start small. You don't like stop hiring a coach for 20, 30, 40,000 a year. I charge $97 a month to get access to me. That's it. I'm like, if you want to work with somebody who's done it, who's been there, who's whatever, $97 a month on a school platform. And that way, when you get in there, you learn all about the wealth things I'm talking about right now. But now you implement them for you and you learn all the secrets and everything else. And you can ask any one of my students, you can talk to anyone, read any one of my books, and see that if you go to my Substack, The Independent Woman, or just type my name, Vickie Helm, Vickie Helm, Helm. If you go to Vickie Helm, look under books on the tab that says books, look at the other things in there, and you can see that the lifeboat business is stupid simple, stupid inexpensive, and it's one offer, one audience, one person, and you can have it set up and running with AI in the back to help you in 30 days or less. Some people have put it up in 2 weeks, and they have clients coming in and they're making money. I think I have one business that does dementia care, and they had within their first month 4 paid subscribers, and they're just climbing. It's climbing, and I just want to be able to tell you there are other options than the ones they've given you. And I want to say thank you for spending the hour with me, and I appreciate you in that. I also appreciate it if you would save this and share it with other people, because I'm growing my client base here, and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that. It's free. You could subscribe and read more, and we'll talk more. We'll have this conversation more. And yeah, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you and your time. All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.